Hi, and welcome to this episode of Write With Me at IELTS Juice. The rubric that we're going to analyze is for an essay, and it says many people use their phones for sending text more than talking. What are the reasons for this? Are there more advantages than disadvantages? All right. In the IELTS community, it is called a two-part question. But IELTS looks at it as a rubric that has two main ideas. So we need to come up with reasons. That's number one. We need to say at least two reasons, at least. So it can be two, it can be three, it can be four is a bit risky because we will lose time. So two is very, very acceptable and logical and within the time frame of the test. And then in the second paragraph, IELTS asks us to say whether there are more advantages or more disadvantages. This is a yes-no question. We need to say, yes, there are more advantages, or no, there aren't more advantages. The disadvantage part is more than the advantage part. So this is the way you can approach it. Doesn't matter if advantages are more or disadvantages are more, they're equally valid. Our job is to give a clear answer that yes, this is uh, something that has more advantages than disadvantage, or vice versa. Anyway, when we analyze our essay, we also need to think ahead and plan ahead. And here, what I'm going to do is to give you a template. One of the ways, one of many ways that you can actually approach the test. Now, this is our introduction. This is our first body paragraph. The second body paragraph. Um, we don't need a third body paragraph, but if need be, we can also add another body paragraph. And this is our conclusion. In the introduction, we need to say some elements here. The very first thing, which is optional, you may want to do it or not, is something called an attention grabber. So I'm going to go ahead and say something that will grab my audience's attention. In this case, my audience is the examiner. So the examiner is paid and is motivated enough, actually, to sit here and read our work. But the idea of an attention grabber is that your audience will need to now forget everything else and just focus on your essay. So your audience is going to read the entire essay. Spend maybe 10 seconds, really, just 10 seconds on attention grabber. If you can find something that grabs the audience's attention, then that would be interesting. I'm going to say something like, in certain developed countries, the number of text messages outweigh the number of phone calls by 1,000%. And that's like, whoa, 1,000%, that's a huge number. Yes, then that will grab the attention of your audience. After something like this, again, you may say something that you can say in some developed countries, it's more than 1,000%, so that if the numbers came out, or if somebody does a simple Google search, they realize that, oh, yeah, in blah, blah country, the number is like 1,200%. So you will not be somebody who said some wrong information. After the attention grabber, we need something to connect our thoughts with the plan ahead. We call that a connecting information sentence. That sentence will act as a middle element. Once you grab your audience's attention, then you need to step by step bring them to the essay. You need to give them some general information, like people prefer texting, and there are emojis in it, and there are many reasons for this, that this trend has become popular. Just one sentence to, again, prepare the mind of your reader to read ahead, to know what the structure will look like later on. And then in the third sentence, you say your most important sentence of the entire essay, and that's your thesis statement. So the thesis statement, which is the most important sentence in the entire essay, needs to say that yes, there are reasons A and B, and you believe that this is a trend that has more advantages, or this is a trend that does not have more advantages, and you basically address them in the thesis statement. This is clear. This is your statement. It has to be as clear as possible. So make sure that you are very clear in stating this. Now, as a rule of thumb, there are two questions here, and I'm going to devote one paragraph to each of these questions. So in this paragraph, I'm going to talk about the reasons. This is my first body paragraph. I need a topic sentence, and the topic sentence needs to basically talk about everything that is going to happen here. I'm going to talk about reasons. So this topic sentence is going to say, yes, there are two reasons for this trend. And you need to come up with reasons. Let me say, for instance, there is reason A. Okay. And then you develop it and you analyze it. Then you come up with reason B. Again, you develop it and you say maybe an example to support it. So reason A, reason B. If you want to come up with another reason, basically, if there is a reason C, you can. Your paragraph will become a little chunkier, a little larger, but this is optional. We definitely need at least two reasons, and these two will be enough for us. And the topic sentence needs to mention that there are two reasons, or with the third reason, there are three reasons. This will be your first body paragraph. The second body paragraph needs another topic sentence. Okay, let's organize things a little bit. Now, this has a topic sentence on its own, and in this part, you're going to say if advantages are more or disadvantages are more. And in this case, you're going to convince me as the reader that there are more advantages or there are more disadvantages. One beautiful trick is to consider these two reasons as the advantages part, if that's a good thing. Or maybe you can come up with some reasons and then you need to picture them as something bad to show as disadvantages. So you already have two, for example, advantages in this case. You can come up with two disadvantages. That is one way to do it. That's a smart way to do it. Otherwise, you need to be a little more careful with. Do not write both advantages and disadvantages in a single paragraph. Please don't do that. That's a very, very bad move. It's a very difficult way to do that. We cannot basically say, yes, there is advantage one, and then we suddenly come up with another disadvantage. This is bad. Please don't do that. If we need to do something like this, we need to introduce a new paragraph. Allow me to introduce a new paragraph here. For example, there's another paragraph, and for that, we also need another topic sentence. Now, here we are going to focus on advantages, and here we are going to focus on our disadvantages. And we need to show that there are more advantages than disadvantages. Here, the numbers can play to our favor. If advantages are more than disadvantages, I can come up with two advantages. And you can see 2 is greater than 1, so there are more advantages actually than disadvantages, and it's fine. Or you can do vice versa. You can come up with more disadvantages. Even I can do this. I can come up with 3 disadvantages. So 3 is larger than 2, and you can show that yes, there are more disadvantages than these advantages. But as I said, I believe in these cases, this is another approach. So if your reasons are written in a very smart way, then you don't need advantages, and you can basically focus on the disadvantage parts, this paragraph, and you can forget this one and add this and add the entirety of this element here. Otherwise, you just need to come up with two separate paragraphs and show me why there are more disadvantages in this case, for example, than advantages, or vice versa. Once this part is over, in this case, I'm gonna do this and introduce this element. Good. Then I need the introduction. In the introduction, we basically need to paraphrase our thesis statement. Now, something very important. You need to again say that there were two reasons for that. And as we also talked about it, the number of disadvantages is more than advantages. So this is the paraphrase of the same elements you mentioned in the thesis statement. And here we need one more sentence because we don't want to have a sentence paragraph. A sentence cannot form a paragraph. We need at least two. Conclusion is a unique paragraph, and with two sentences, it'll be fine. We basically need to paraphrase the thesis statement. Again, here we use the same things that we mentioned in the topics and in the thesis statement here. Remember that we focused on two reasons, and then we also talked about if there are more advantages than disadvantages. Remember this element here. So now if you have two sentences here, this is enough. So if you cut this and you say both elements in two separate sentences, then the one that I'm holding here is not necessary. But if you end up with only one sentence, you can always use this as an optional sentence. And what here happens is that you basically go ahead and say, yes, if governments do something, then this and that will take place later on. You come up with predictions. Or maybe you say, well, these are the disadvantages, and you may come up with some suggestions to focus on maybe removing these disadvantages from the whole system or the whole agenda. In any way, this second sentence in the conclusion will be a sentence to help you to form the last paragraph. One thing that is very, very important, this must not go off topic. This will just be a form of prediction and suggestion based on the things that we discussed here. So it shouldn't be something completely or totally different. It shouldn't open any new agendas. We must not add any new information in our conclusion. Conclusion has its name. We need to conclude what we talked about, every element in the previous paragraphs, actually, the preceding paragraphs. Anyway, that's one of the ways that you can go ahead and approach this particular rubric. I hope you give it a try. And if you want to see a sample of this essay done and improved, click here. And if you want to see more of this series, click over here. And until then, I hope you have a lovely day ahead. Remember to eat healthy.